reached the state level all 4 years in track. She was named All-American 2 years in a row in field hockey. She was named All-Ohio 1 year, and the only reason she didn't get it the second year, actually I should say the first year, is in 1991 when she was named All-American, there was no All-Ohio. So she was on the inaugural All-Ohio field hockey team. She also set school records in swimming. She, in addition to that, played basketball for me as a freshman. And she played soccer before she came to her senses and decided to come over. I, for one, am very glad that she did come over to play field hockey. And although I did have the pleasure of coaching her basketball and to see her perform in all of her different activities and so on, I'm really not going to dwell upon her athletic accomplishments because I think, as Bill said very well, those people that are inducted into this Hall of Fame are good athletes. We have an awful lot of very, very good athletes, dedicated people in Oakwood that may never reach this level. So what sets someone like Katy apart are all those things that you don't teach. You can't teach some of these things. They come with the package, or they don't. Intensity. Katy Deddens is one of the most intense people I have ever met. Ruth just shared a story with me about Katy going up to meet her husband's family for the first time, and she was going to go sailing. Well, we don't do a whole lot of sailing here in Dayton, Ohio, so I could imagine that was probably a first experience for her. But Ruth called ahead and said, just want you to know, she's a pretty good athlete. She can probably handle just about anything that you've got thrown at her. Give her a little instruction and she'd take off and go. Well, she didn't drown, and she got married. Chip is here with her, so it must have worked out okay. Katy is back in the Oakwood area. She lives right behind the high school and comes along occasionally with her children, and it's always fun to visit with them. And she has 3 little girls, 3, right? 3, okay. Don't want to lose track of any of them. So my suspicion is that they will probably follow in their mother's footsteps. I've seen them out on the track already, and so forth. So, it's neat to see that going to the next generation. But for intensity purposes, I think back to a game that we had in Columbus. It was her senior year, and we were playing Grandview. And it was a team that we could beat easily, and the score was piling up. And I took her out. And she said, why'd you take me out? I said, because no one else has scored. I need to let everyone else feel what it feels like to put that ball in the goal. And she said, but it's just sitting there. I said, I know, that's why you're out here, so no one else can figure out that it's just sitting there and it needs to go in. She understood, didn't like it, but she understood. She set the school record in her junior year. She went broken in her senior year, and as near as we know, she also holds the record for her career. She was one of these players that you look at and say, I have to find a place for her. We did play with freshmen. Freshmen could have played on the varsity team when I took over in 1985, and I hadn't had one. And before that, freshmen didn't play. But when Katy came along, I had to play her. She was one of those kind of players. You see them in practice, you see them at Sauk Valley Camp, for those of you who went to Sauk Valley Camp. And you say to yourself, I have to find a place for this person. As a freshman, who did not play field hockey in junior high. She came over from soccer. She was that outstanding and that intense. She stood up from the get-go. I'm not a big believer in playing freshmen. If you have to play a lot of freshmen, you're usually in trouble. So if you're counting on them to help you, then you really have some building to do. Not the case with Katy. Katy had to play. It wasn't a question of us being weak. We'd just come off the state semifinals a couple of years ago. So it wasn't about that. It was about we needed her in that lineup because of what she brought to that team. she also brought a spirit to the team. And good players do that. They're not just about themselves, they're about the team. They get you fired up, they get you excited. They're intense about the Fairmont game. They're intense about all the other things. You know, who in heaven's name decided to put the Hall of Fame on the night of the Oakwood Fairmont game, by the way? Anybody get the score? It was 0-0 when I left. I have to go and get the taken care of next time, all right? Don't do that again. But I was looking back at a couple of scrapbooks back on the table, and I was looking through them, kind of reminiscing. The kids gave me the scrapbooks at the end of each season, so I brought the 91 and the 92 scrapbooks with me. Katy's junior year and Katy's senior year, which both years we went to the state semifinals. We won the district championship. And her junior year, we beat Fairmont in the beginning game of the season against Fairmont. We're the two-time undefeated state champions, and who stuck in the first goal? Katy Deddens. So she wasn't afraid of anybody. I'm going to play hockey, sitting there, the ball's going in the goal, and whatever it takes to get it there, that's what I'm going to do. But the spirit piece, Katy was also kind of our unofficial cheerleader. And I bet I can't talk her into it, but she has her sisters here, some of them. You know, can we get a little Pee-wee tonight? Maybe? No?
I don't know if I remember the words.
For any of you who get all around in that area,